Welcome! In this tutorial we will learn how to use the Toolbox in CGI Studio. In this video we'll learn how to use Node 2D from the Toolbox in an easy and practical way. I'll open Scene Composer and demonstrate how Node 2D actually works while using it step by step. To begin, I'll explain simple objects like solid color node and text node since they are easy to see and understand in the 2D scene. This will help you clearly understand how these objects appear and behave. Next, we'll look at camera and group and understand how they help organize and control elements in the scene. Finally, I'll explain the layout and show how everything fits together. Throughout the video, I'll guide you through the process by working directly with these objects so you can easily follow along and learn by example. Now, let's display a solid color rectangle on the screen using Solid Color Node. First, drag a solid color node from Node 2D in the Toolbox and drop it into Scene 2D in the Scene tree. After adding it, we can change the rectangle's color to see how it appears in the scene. For that, select Solid Color Brush Blend under the effects of the solid color node. Here we can change the rectangle's color using the Fill Color parameter. We can also adjust the size of the solid color node to modify how much space the object occupies. Keep in mind that changing the size parameter in the solid color node properties only changes the object's area, not the rectangle itself. To make it adjust automatically, set the size parameter of the solid color node to auto, then again select Solid Color Brush Blend in the Properties panel. When we change the size parameter inside Solid Color Brush Blend, the rectangle itself changes along with the object area. We can also use the Scale button if you want to resize only the rectangle without affecting the object area. Now let's add an image using a bitmap node. First, drag a bitmap node from Node 2D in the Toolbox and drop it into Scene 2D in the Scene tree. Open the Properties panel and select Bitmap Brush Blend under the effects of the bitmap node. We can change the displayed image using the Image Magnifier option. To assign an image to the item's bitmap, first we need to load the material. Right-click on the solution, go to Resource Bitmap and choose Import Image. Then, press OK to finish importing and close the window. After adding the image, we can adjust its position and size using the Translate and Scale buttons to move and resize it as needed. Now let's understand Render Node. A render node is a special node that does not have any effect applied to it by default. When we add an effect, the render node automatically changes into a node such as a bitmap node or solid color node depending on the effect we choose. Now drag a render node from Node 2D in the Toolbox and drop it into Scene 2D in the Scene tree. Next, we'll add an effect. Make sure that the Effects section of the render node is empty. Then, open the Effects window and drag Solid Color Brush Blend from the drop-down list into the Effects area of the render node. Once the effect is added, we can notice that the render node icon changes into a solid color node icon. Now it behaves just like a normal solid color node, allowing to change the color and adjust the size. Now let's try another effect. Drag Bitmap Brush Blend from the Effects drop-down list into the Render Node's Effects section. The effect will switch to Bitmap Brush Blend, and the render node icon will change into a bitmap node icon. We can now use it like a regular bitmap node. Simply select an image, choose Import Images, and press OK to load the selected image. After that, we can move and resize it using the Translate and Scale tools. Render Node also allows us to create more advanced visual effects. For example, Bitmap Brush Color Blend, an extended version of Bitmap Node, let us combine colors with images. Similarly, Linear Gradient Brush Blend, an extended function of Solid Color Node, allows to apply gradient effects with smooth color transitions. Now, let's use a text node to display text on the screen. First, drag a text node from Node 2D in the toolbox and drop it into Scene 2D in the scene tree. After adding it, we can change the sentence that appears on the screen. To edit the text, open the Properties window and type your content into the text property under the text section. We can also customize the appearance by changing the font and character size. To do this, open the Text Style palette by clicking on the symbol featuring the magnifying glass. Then open the Font palette from the default font parameter in the Text Style properties. Click Import Font to open the Import Fonts dialog box. Select the font file we want to use. After importing, press OK and the new font will appear in the font drop-down list. We can adjust the font size using the size option on the right. To change the font color, select Bitmap Brush Color Blend in the text node effects and open its properties. Modify the color using the color parameter. We can also adjust text alignment. Enable text layout in the properties under the 2D text node section. This will display the text layout settings where we can use text alignment to control how the text is aligned within the text bar. Now let's learn about the camera node, which controls the drawing range of objects shown in Scene 2D. In simple terms, the camera node decides which part of the scene is visible on the screen. By default, the display size is set to 1280 by 480. If we want to change this, open the Render Targets window, select the display, and in the Properties window change the X resolution to 640. Click Display to confirm the updated screen size. Next, let's set up a camera node. Drag a 640 by 480 image from the Solution panel into Scene 2D. Then, from the drop-down list, select Editor under Set Selected Camera to predefine location and orientation. This will show the camera's drawing range in the scene. Since the drawing area is currently too wide, open the camera node properties and adjust the viewport parameter by changing the width to 640. We can check the result using the CGI player. When we preview Scene 2D in the CGI player, the scene will be displayed within the camera's range. Make sure everything appears correctly. We can freely adjust the camera's position and angle to get the view we want. Now, let's change the camera's drawing range again. Set the viewport width to 320 in the camera node properties. When you preview it in the CGI player, we'll notice that only half of the screen is drawn. We can also use multiple cameras in the same scene. Copy and paste the camera node to duplicate it. Then modify the left value in the duplicated camera node's viewport parameter to 320. The viewport parameter controls where the camera output appears on the screen. So when you preview the scene again in the CGI player, the same scene will be displayed on both sides of the screen. Now let's learn how to use a group node. Group node helps us organize multiple objects together in one place. First, drag a group node from Node 2D in the Toolbox and drop it into Scene 2D in the Scene tree. Next, add any 2D object inside the group node, such as a text node, solid color node, or image node. We can also create additional groups inside a group node if needed. All objects inside the group can still be edited individually whenever we want. The order of objects inside the group node determines the layer arrangement. Objects placed at the bottom appear first, while objects above them appear on top. When we select, move, scale, or rotate the group node, all the objects inside the group are affected together. This makes it easy to manage and transform multiple items at the same time. Now let's look at Layout, which is a feature used to arrange 2D objects automatically in a scene. Layout helps us organize objects neatly without positioning each one manually. We can create a layout by dragging a layout node from Node 2D in the Toolbox and dropping it into Scene 2D in the Scene tree. Since a layout node is similar to a group node, we can also create one by selecting a group node and simply changing the layout type property in its settings. This allows the group to behave like a layout and automatically arrange the objects inside it. Baseline layout is used to align objects along a fixed reference line, making it easier to keep items properly lined up. To use this feature, change the layout type of the group node layout to baseline layout in the Properties panel. Through setting this, each object can be aligned based on the reference line. We can also adjust the vertical alignment of the objects using the available property settings. The order in which the objects appear still depends on their arrangement inside the group node, so the layering follows the same sequence shown in the scene tree. Now, let's set up a grid layout. Grid layout arranges objects using a grid made of rows and columns, placing each object neatly inside its own cell. This makes it very useful for organizing multiple items in a structured way. To use it, change the layout type of the group node layout to grid layout in the Properties panel. Then, set the number of rows using the row count and the number of columns using the column count in the layout settings. We can also control how objects are placed inside the grid by adjusting grid auto arrangement in the layout properties. Once the layout is applied, the size of each object is adjusted automatically so that they fit properly within the grid cells. Now, let's set up an overlay layout. Overlay layout is a layout type that allows objects to overlap within the group's area. This means multiple objects can be placed on top of each other while staying inside the same group range. The way objects appear on the screen depends on their order inside the group node. Objects arranged lower in the list are displayed first, while those above appear on top. To use this layout, change the layout type of the group node layout to overlay layout in the Properties panel. Through that, we can align each object inside the group using the vertical alignment and horizontal alignment properties. Now, let's set up a stack layout. Stack layout arranges objects either horizontally or vertically, making it easy to line up items in a row or a column. To use this layout, change the layout type of the group node layout to stack layout in the Properties panel. Then, choose the direction of arrangement depending on whether we want the objects placed vertically or horizontally. We can also adjust how each object is aligned by using the vertical alignment or horizontal alignment settings in the properties. This allows us to control the exact positioning of objects within the layout. Dock panel layout arranges objects by placing them in preferred positions within the scene area. To use this layout, change the layout type of the group node layout to dock panel layout in the Properties panel. Through selecting this layout, a new parameter called dockside will appear in the properties of each object. This setting allows us to choose where an object should be placed, such as the top, bottom, left, or right side of the layout. When an object is assigned to a specific dockside with higher priority, the area becomes reserved and other objects cannot be placed there. The remaining objects are then arranged automatically, and the leftover space is divided among them. This is the end of this tutorial video. Thank you for watching and goodbye.